The Swamp Thing issue 9, Ram V writing with Mike Perkins on the art. The penultimate issue of season 1. But as we said earlier, there's going to be a season 2 starting in March. But this, we had the cliffhanger last time of Prescott going after Jennifer. Although we actually found out early in this issue that the guy running Prescott isn't even named Prescott. So I guess we're going to have to learn.
No, but he is a bastard son, basically.
Yeah, but we're probably going to have to learn the asshole's name now that I can't just call him Prescott all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's got Jennifer, and he's got like the remains of an old Swamp Thing corpse. Which we get the backstory of later in the issue. But basically, all of their technology that they've ever made in the last century is all come from researching avatars in the green. If not even just avatars, just this one avatar from the green has given them access to all of their developments, all their technology. I do really dig the cliffhanger here at the end of the scene where he's like, hey, you've got questions, don't you? And she's like, yeah, whose body is that? And he just kind of gives this evil smile. The art is so good at getting that cliffhanger Perkins, over.
So with all the shadows and whatnot, and here it's not overly shadowy, but because the character is just that smirk, it's so greasy and grimy. Like, it fits so well. Like, Perkins he does that sinister vibe real well.
Yeah, and you feel this sadness of Levi coming home and or going to her place rather, and finding it ransacked and finding it empty, and clearly she's in danger. I love that he sees what happens by asking the plant for to tell the story, and we sort of see it in the art in the leaves of the plant. So then he gets angry, and he actually, I'll say it, he hulks out intentionally because he's got someone to save. He has a purpose, as he puts it. So it's definitely, this transformation feels different to every other one that we've had in the book so far. This does feel like a call to action as opposed to...
He's in control of this one more, right? Like, this is Levi turning into the Swamp Thing, not the Green using Levi, right?
Yeah, this is him using the power by choice. And it does this great thing later on as well, because, the villain's explaining to Jennifer the backstory about this explorer who was wanting to steal stuff from the forest in India but found the remains of this avatar. And he explains the avatars, he explains the conduits. Levi's the newest one, but there's been, tons before. And as he's explaining all this, at the very end of the scene where he's saying, hey, we'll give you a lab and you can work on Levi and help him, and we get all this technology from whatever data you get from him. It's a win-win. And she's like, you don't really want to help him, though. You just want his data. And it's right at the end of this scene where the art turns red and the alarm starts going off. And you're thinking, oh, Levi's here. We know he's coming.
Right. We know he's here to wreck things and get his girlfriend back, get Jennifer back.
Yeah, we know he's coming after her. So all the scenes now inside the lab are all bathed in red. And we've got, his guards are outside. But then when we see who's coming, it's actually his brother. Jacob, yeah. With these big antlers. And it's like, oh, shit. So we get a big 2-page spread of him wrecking stuff, and then he comes in and he's like, the branches are stabbing soldiers through the arms. It's proper horrific, proper horror movie stuff. And it's only when he comes after Jennifer where Swamp Thing kind of jumps in and blocks it. And we have this little moment where he turns and says Jennifer, and she looks him in the eye and can recognize that it's Levi. She sees Levi's eyes. And he's run. So it's there's this little moment where up until now it's been okay, she kind of helped him, but it was in a dream and she didn't think it was real, and she thinks maybe he's crazy, whatever it may be. But this is no. Here he is in the flesh. He is Swamp Thing. And not only that, we have this arch nemesis now who, and this is, Swamp Thing, Levi says to him when he's fighting him, I'm not just doing this to protect them. I'm we need to take this company down, but we're not going to do it your way. And I'm doing what I'm doing now to protect you. It's like he's trying to save the soul of his brother before his brother does anything that he can't come back from.
Yeah, and I do like how they represent two sides of the same coin. Is that not only is Jacob wanting to take out Prescott because they're a bad corporation, but when you learn the history of how Prescott was able to have all the information and that they do by having this husk of an avatar there, and how the founder of Prescott went into India and kind of ransacked it and took this thing, and that's what they built it upon. And as someone from that area, someone that is tied directly to the history there, it's Jacob coming basically almost for revenge on this, and whereas Levi going like, yeah, like revenge is great, but we have to do this the right way, because as they say,
And
eye for an eye leaves the whole world blind.
And of course, this has been a theme of the book: is going to another country and taking something that isn't yours.
Right.
That's been like a constant thing throughout the whole story. So this just feels natural that it all bleeds back into that general idea again. And this is pretty much the end of the issue, is them fighting. The other cliffhanger element being that the deep freeze protocol is being initiated with a countdown timer. Now, it's probably just what it sounds like, which is they're going to freeze them. They're going to pump ice or liquid nitrogen or whatever it's going to be into the room, and hopefully
but that also,
get the samples.
If you remember his future state story, that's kind of how the world was left, right? Was in this deep freeze, and that's what led to the Swamp Thing family being able to kind of take over. So I do like that it ties back to that as well, with these little hints here or there. And he Levi also brings up, we're talking to Floronic Man, and how not all avatars are the same, right? It's how they decide to use the powers that kind of defines them more than the powers themselves, which I also like, because you see how the brother here, he's more like, if Levi is more the traditional Swamp Thing with the mossy green flowering parts, Jacob is all branches, all sharp edges, and I do like how those also complement each other here. So it's just, man, it's great storytelling across the board.
Yeah, and the whole thing with Floronic Man telling him, eventually you're going to give in to this and just be a monster like me. Like, the whole idea of him trying to save his brother's soul by stopping him from doing this and doing things the right way, all of it boils back down to like not turning into a monster. So no, we can't just give in into our basic impulses and do what we want or act out of anger and revenge. We have to do things in a humane way. We have to do things in an honorable way. So the idea that the villain, like the classic Swamp Thing villain of Floronic Man, is the one sort of speaking into his ear going, no, you're going to become a monster like me. The idea that Levi's entire story is fighting against that is really powerful. And it makes sense for the story and everything it's doing.
I always say that DC is always looking for their own version of Hulk. I feel like this is the most Hulk-like story DC's put out, unless there's one that I'm just missing. But just the whole inner struggle and not becoming the monster or fully embracing what that means.
If I could remember the name of the book that came out with Sideways and all those other books, that was the Hulk one, I would bring that up, but I don't remember it, so I can't.
Yeah, that wasn't good, right? Like,
was it Rampage? No, it wasn't Rampage.
It was something along those lines, right? Like,
yeah, obviously the art's fantastic. You mentioned a couple of the moments, the evil smile, the big 2-page spread of Jacob, but honestly the art in this one is immaculate. It's like, this is like a perfect pairing. We've said this a few times, but it's a perfect pairing of art and subject, because Perkins like shadows and the sort of the moodiness that he gives to something as simple as Levi walking to an apartment building feels super moody, and everything in there is just. And but I also like that when he looks at the leaves for the like what happened in the room, which one is, it's a wonderful mechanic to set up that if there's any greenery around, he can sort of like use that as security footage effectively. That's a really fun idea. But the fact that the art gets so bright when it becomes just the green, when it's just the green on its own, it becomes kind of beautiful. But the rest of the time, it's kind of moodier, and the rest of the world is kind of sad without it. It's a really nice little touch. But the expression is like, Jennifer's reaction to Levi's eyes as Swamp Thing, like, told a story on its own. That was like a reaction that was told through a facial expression. So the art is phenomenal in this issue. Yes, have you found some details, Matt?
I did, and it was the New Age of DC Heroes.
Ah, there you go.
And
New Age.
The character you're referring to was Damage.
Damage! That was
Yeah. But yeah, no, everything that as I was looking up, I was listening to what you were saying. I agree with everything there about what he does. Like, I do like that ability in the green to reach out to the plants and, use it as surveillance. Like, I think Ivy's done that kind of stuff before, and I think it's popped up in other Swamp Thing books, but not like this, not where he can go back and watch everything that had happened. But yeah, and just like the the whole this ties them back to where they're from, and how the two brothers are kind of more in touch with nature from how they were brought up. And it kind of makes them perfect avatars for this. It just, everything is working across the board. And I'm very excited to see what, after this ends, what the following 6 issues are going to do, just to see what that's going to be about.
It kind of feels like this is just finishing setting up all of the elements, and I feel like there's going to be a nice conflict to still tell with these two characters.
Well, don't forget that, what was it, issue 1 or 2, where there was the whole Swamp Thing versus the idea that creature that was out in the desert, you know, and you know how he fought this idea and stuff, and there's that stuff too, more of the metaphysical type stuff. And here it comes down to, you know, the green and revenge and that type of stuff, which is not as metaphysical. So I'm curious to see what other thoughts Ramvi has with, you know.
Yeah, I also feel like there's more for Levi and Jennifer's relationship to explore as well.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like there's plenty of that because she's only just come to terms. Well, even come to terms. She's only just realized that it's real.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
like she was pulled into the green, but had no idea she was in the green.
We can only get so much fallout of that in one issue. So I suspect there'll be some good developments with that over the 6 new issues that we're going to get. Yeah. So no, very, 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 very good stuff. Matt, what are you giving Swamp Thing issue 9?
I'm going to give this a 9.
I too am going to give it a 9. It was an excellent issue.